Okay, writing decimals as percents, percents as decimals, fractions as percents, and so on. So if we have 65% and we want to write it as a decimal, we move the decimal 2 spaces to the left. Percent to a decimal. Remember that. 0.65. That would be our decimal. We're done. From a decimal to a percent, 2 spaces to the right. Here we have 0.2%, which is perfectly fine. We can have a decimal as a percent. It's just less than 1%. Okay, decimal to a percent. Here we go again, 2 spaces to the right. We're left over with 363%. Again, we can have more than 100%. That's perfectly fine. It's just a really large percentage. Okay, so let's move on. %% as a fraction. So let's write this as a fraction. Well, any percent is always over 100. So we just put 70 over 100. However, we can't keep it like that. We need to reduce our fraction. So we can just cross out the zeros and get 7 over 10, which as a decimal, this would just be equal to 0.7. Because it's in the 10th spot there. If it's over 10, it's in the 10th spot. 7 is in the 10th spot. If we added a 0 after that 7, and we move the decimal 2 spaces to the right to create a percent, we would get 70%. All these are equal. Okay, let's move on. Let's do a fraction. 3/8. And let's write this as a percent. Okay, 2 ways of doing it. First way, we can do it with proportions. 3/8 is equal to some percent over 100. Let's just say it's x. Okay, to do this we have to cross multiply. So we get 8x is equal to 300. And then we would need to get x by itself, so we would need to divide by 8 on both sides. So x is equal to 300 divided by 8. So we're going to see how many times 8 can go into 300. Off to the side. 8 can go into 30. 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. We're left over with 60. 8 can go into 60 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. If we would need to add a decimal and a 0 now, because 8 cannot go into 4. It can go into 40 though. It can go into 45 times, so we get 37.5. So x is equal to 37.5 percent, because x is over 100. Okay, that's one way of doing it, the proportion way. Now the other way of doing this is just by switching the fraction into a decimal and then moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right to create a percent. So again, this is 8 divided into 3. 8 cannot go into 3, so we need to put a decimal and a 0 after. 8 can go into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. Subtract and get 6, add another 0. 8 can go into 60 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Subtract and we get a 4. 8 can't go into 4, so we add another 0. 8 can go into 40 5 times. So here we're left over with a decimal of 0.375. Changing the decimal to a percent, move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. We're left over with 37.5%. The same thing that we got when we did it with proportions. So whatever you want to do, whatever's easier for you to do, you go ahead and do it. Either way, you're going to have to do some division here.